Good morning, LIV, and welcome to our second video on photo editing. Today we're going to be carrying on from our, starting I suppose, and we're just going to be looking at the basic techniques of copying, pasting, selecting, flipping horizontally and flipping vertically, and resizing images. If you haven't been able to get GIMP working or downloaded, you should be able to use any downloaded software any imaging software for this, because none of these features are specifically fancy or anything that's unique to GIMP. So I decided my desktop background needed a little bit of spicing up, and so what I did is I just went to Cool Pictures. Well, sorry, I didn't go to Cool Pictures, I just downloaded Cool Pictures, saw this, it was bright and colorful, and thought I'd use this as my desktop background. Now, something interesting is that if you take a look at the top over here, this is a 1900 by 1200 picture, okay? And the resolution of my desktop is 1920 by 1080. So this is actually too tall for my desktop. And you can see that if I minimize the photo, if I, let's make this a little bit smaller over here. If you take a look over here, you can see that when I applied this to my desktop background, it's being cut off over there. So I'm losing 120 pixels, obviously, because the other option would be, if to display the whole height here, I'd sort of have gray bars on the side. Let's see if I can do that. Let's fit. And there we go. So you can see that, and I don't really want that. So let's go back to fill. And then what I'm going to do, in fact, is I'm going to say Windows automatically chose which 1920 by 1080 section I was going to have. I want to choose it. So I've opened GIMP, and what I'm going to do is I'm now going to open up my background photo. And there we go. And now what I want is a selection. So up here you've got your tools. This is move, and this is a rectangular selection, which is what I want. And I've got some tool options over here. If you don't have the tool options over here, then you can just look for tool options. It'll be somewhere in this window. Here you can see it's right at the top. There's my tool options, and it's selected. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click and drag somewhere. I just want to get, just a rough version. And I wanted to start in the top left. So I could spend ages hovering my mouse over. If you look right at the bottom of the screen here where I'm circling my mouse, when you move over, you can see the coordinates. I could put it on 0, 0, but that's just going to be too fiddly. I could put on 0, 0, drag across 1920, go down to 1080 and do it like that, but a little bit fiddly. There's a quicker way. As long as you've got the tool options, what you can do is you can just change the position to 0, 0, and it'll move it there nicely. And then 1920 is the width, and then the height is 1080. Okay, and now what I can do is I can move this selection around, and I can choose the portion of the image that I decide I want like best. So let's just say over there, just going to check, I don't want it positioned at 2, I want it positioned at 0, and there we go. And now what I can do is I can go image, and I can choose crop to selection, and what that's going to do, I've selected a 1920 by 1080 image, and that'll crop it down nicely for me. So I've now resized the image. I've cropped it. I could resize if I wanted, if I suddenly had a 6, if I could go to canvas size here, and I could choose, something much smaller, if I had a much smaller desktop or something. Actually, I don't think canvas size is what I wanted there. There's probably a resize somewhere. Actually, I think I'm looking for scale image. So if you click on scale image, I could scale down, and I could adjust the scale. Not that I want to do that. Going smaller generally gives you decent quality. Going bigger will make it pixelated, so do be aware of that. If I'd chosen the canvas size one, what that actually does, so I've got the picture here, and there's also a canvas. You can picture like in art. You've got a canvas, and we've put some paint on top of the canvas. And what I could do is I could make the canvas bigger. And that actually just gives me extra space on the canvas rather than increasing the size of the image. And obviously I could scale the image. You can choose pixels, you can choose percentage, you can say, right, let's increase it by 200%. Currently I've got it linked here, so it'll resize it in synchronous, and I can click scale. And then if I view it at 100%, should see it starting to get a bit pixelated. So obviously just keep that in mind. I've just undone the scale, and let's change my view back to 67%. Okay, and what I want to do here now is I've decided I want to do one of those cool mirror images. So I want to mirror it vertically, and I want to mirror it horizontally. So now if I just choose image, transform, flip horizontally, it flips the whole image, which is not what I want. I'm using the keyboard shortcut for undo, by the way, which is Control Z. Okay, so let's do a selection. So I'm going to select again, and it's 1920 across. Let's divide that by 2. That gives me 960 pixels across. So let's do a selection that's 960, starting at 0, 0, 960 across, and 1080 height. And I'm going to go Edit, Copy. And now what I'm going to do, in fact, is I'm going to paste this into a new layer, because let's just paste this. You know what? I'm not going to paste it into a new layer. I'll paste it here, which is wrong. It doesn't matter if I line it up perfectly or not. And now if I try and go image, transform, flip horizontally, it just flips the whole thing, which is not what I want. So in fact, I do not want to paste it. So I've still got it selected, and I'm going to choose Edit, and I'm going to paste as a new layer. And so now I've got 2 layers in my picture. I've got this bottom layer, and I've got the top layer. If you click on the eyes, you can choose between looking at all of them, both of them, or none of them. Okay, it doesn't matter what you've got, what you're looking at though. It just matters what you've got selected. And now I'm going to move this. Whoops! Let's choose the Move tool. Let's move this across. That's not perfectly aligned, so let's zoom in a little bit. Let's go to 400%. Okay, I'm actually just going to go to 800%, and then 400%, 800%, let's zoom on, go all the way down across, then go down to 400%, and it's just positioned it nicely, and there we go. That is not perfectly lined up. Let's go back to our normal view. And now what I want to do is I want to choose Layer, Transform, and I'm going to flip horizontally. So I've flipped my layer as opposed to flipping the whole picture. And now you can see I've got a nice horizontal flip going. I now want a nice sort of vertical flip. So let's do another selection. And this time we want to select across. Once again, let's go from 0, 0. And I want the size to be 1920 across, and then half of 1080 is 540. Cool. And now I'm going to go Edit, and this is wrong, so don't do this. I'm going to go Copy and Edit, Paste as New Layer. And if you look at my new layer, I was only selecting, I had this layer selected, and so it only copied that bit. And if I had this one selected, then I'd have lost my horizontal mirroring. So what I'm going to do, let's just undo. Okay, I'm going to have to undo quite a few things because I did not. There we go. So now I've got my selection, and what I'm going to do is Edit, Copy Visible. And what that's going to do, it's going to copy everything that I can see on the screen, whether it's in the layer or not. And now I can go Edit, Paste as New Layer. And that is, I don't know why it's pasted it there, but whatever, we'll move it down here. Okay, we'll move it down there. I think that might be lined up, I don't know. That's not lined up. There we go, that's nicely lined up. And now let's just go back to normal view. And now what I'm going to do is same thing again. I'm going to choose Layer, Transform, and this time I'm going to flip vertically. Cool. And now if I look at everything, I've got some nice symmetry in all 4 places. And now what I can do is, if I choose File, Save, this is going to save it as an XCF file. That's the default format that GIMP uses, and it doesn't compress, so I'm not going to lose details, and it'll keep all my layers in place, so I can go back and edit the layers individually and everything, which is very, very nice. So if you want to save your project, you save it as an XCF. What I want though is I want a nice cool background. So I'm going to choose File, and there should be an export option. Apologies, this is on the second screen and my glasses are not that good. So the export is there. I want to export as, let's say I want a JPEG. I'm going to scroll down to JPEG. It's kind of alphabetical. There's JPEG. And I'm going to, background.jpg is fine. Export. Okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go background mirror. Click export. It'll come up with some options on what quality, and that depends on how much you want to compress. Let's just stick with 90 for now. Click export, and there we go. And now I should be able to personalize. Browse, background mirror. There we go. I'm probably not going to keep that because it's a bit garish, but whatever. So I'd like all of you to please find a picture. Well, I'll put this picture up on the Classroom, and I want you guys to follow the same steps and create your own desktop background like that.